My name is Joseph Kelly, and this is my capstone project for the EdS in professional counseling. Data informs many of the decisions we make in K-12 education. The collection of it, the analysis of it, the interpretation of it, and the comprehensive school counseling programs are definitely part of, or at least we want them to be part of, data-informed decision making. So during the second week of the school year, the counseling department at J.C. Booth Middle School in Peachtree City, we offer a needs assessment to our students, and they have the opportunity to let us know what they need and what they want from us as their school counselors. This year, an example from the needs assessment, many of our children were experiencing grief. So our sixth grade counselor, who has a background in grief counseling, created a small group for grief counseling, and it ran for 6 weeks. And although she's the sixth grade counselor, it was open to sixth through eighth graders, and we had a variety of both boys and girls who participated. Other small groups that we've been able to create from those needs assessments are, for example, study skills, social skills, building healthy relationships, conflict resolution. Then we also have our classroom guidance lessons that we do, and one of the lessons I do is meet the counselor, and that's just about 10 minutes of the 50-minute lesson, and then the rest of the time, it's where I'm going to meet the students. I'm going to hear from them, and we have 3 activities that we do in an effort for me to learn about them in different ways. And one of the activities is cooperative, so they get to know about each other as well. So that's one of the classroom guidance lessons that I do with them. Another need that we found out about is, because so many young people are experiencing anxiety and depression and some other mental health issues, we found out, and some of them, of course, in their private therapy sessions, they learned about mindfulness techniques. So we have been developing a mindfulness training program for grades 6 through 8. Now, part of the reason we want to do that is the high school that our children feed into is McIntosh High School, and one of their counselors, sort of as her own project of interest a few years ago, created a mindfulness program at the high school. And we have met with her a couple of times, and in the spirit of vertical alignment, we would like to start getting our students at Booth to learn about mindfulness and how that might help them with their stress management and how it will help them to do better in school, whether that's, reducing test anxiety or helping them, have a calm outlook about what their day involves, because the students are highly scheduled these days. They have, traveling sports teams, they take music lessons, a variety of activities, and, they can be overwhelmed, especially at the younger ages. They haven't had as much experiences as adults have, learning how to manage their time and whatnot. So another way that I've through research learned what some of the needs are is that career counseling, for example, can begin as early as kindergarten, and I was unaware that that's how early it should start. The majority of my time as a counselor has been at the high school level, and I just presume that's where most of that happens. But no, the thinking is, let's get the students thinking about their long-term goals at an early age, and that was something I learned during this program. Another issue I learned about was how to build a comprehensive school counseling program. Most of the time, in my experience as a counselor, you kind of just had a program in place and you just kind of repeated it from year to year. This is only my second year at J.C. Booth, and the needs assessment really does inform how we program the year. And of course, I did some more reading about that and learned the value of doing it that way. Then we have weekly PLCs that we have 4 teams of teachers on each grade level, and they meet and they do data digs where they're looking at patterns of grades and behaviors and whatnot. We also use the PBIS Big 7 report, and that's going to tell us mostly about behavioral referrals and the students are getting them, the grade levels, times of the day, locations, etc. And then all of this together informs how we plan for interventions and supports and through our tiered support systems. We can have, of course, the teachers themselves, when they get together and talk about their shared students, they can understand what interventions they need to put in place in the classrooms. The ECS students, of course, have their case managers who provide interventions. Then there's, of course, the school counselors. Then we can make referrals to, of course, our school social workers in the event of an attendance issue. The social workers can make home visits, for example. Then we have student advocacy specialists. Ours has an office at J.C. Booth, although she's only there once a week. She serves many schools, and we can make referrals to her in particular for students who are experiencing emotional dysregulation or have other mental health concerns, those who have either self-harmed or had thoughts of self-harm, suicidal ideation. Most of the time, these students are seeing outside therapists, but we like to have the SAS, as we say, to do check-ins, in addition to the check-ins that we might do as school counselors. Then we also have a in-house mentoring program where we will pair staff members with students who need mentors, and all of that, of course, is research-based. So we are, making research-based decisions to help the students as best we can. During this program, I had a class in supervision, and I had never realized how many models of supervision there are. I guess I sort of thought, I had never supervised a counselor, but I thought, well, you just supervise your counselor trainee, and that's about it. Then one of the first assignments we had in the course was to look at major models of supervision. We made a chart where we did a deep dive into the major models, and I realized because I tend to use cognitive behavioral therapy anyway in individual counseling, it just kind of suits me, I guess, and so I had chosen CBT as my model of supervision. This year, back in August, we had a brand new, right out of college, school counselor for our 7th graders, and I have been her supervisor. So we have used the CBT supervision. And what I like about it is agenda-driven, and it is early on it wants to form that alliance between the supervisor and the supervisee. It is student-centered, with always the needs of the student are ever present. It encourages for example, the supervisor will model appropriate counseling techniques for the supervisee during the scheduled meetings. We're able to offer feedback and ask the supervisee to reflect. Of course, what I like about CBT is both the supervisor and the supervisee have the opportunity for reflection and collaboration, which is another thing I like about it. The overarching goal of supervision, of course, is to improve the supervisee's understanding of and application of effective counseling techniques. And one of the core requirements of that is to build a trusting and healthy relationship where the power dynamic is not one of, sage on the stage and the supervisee is, sort of sitting and getting, if you will, everything the supervisor has to offer. So it does bring in the supervisee as, a partner with the supervisor. And you're able to have, homework assignments. You might ask the supervisee to do some research on something that they need improvement doing. An example that we had earlier in the year is, Brittany is my supervisee's name. Early on in the year, she had a student who presented as transgender male. And so we had many issues to think about, primarily starting with pronoun usage. And the student prefers to be called either, or the pronouns they prefer are he, him, his, or they, them. And so the student revealed that their parents were aware and were supportive in general of the idea, but objected to, the change in the pronouns and the use of the student's chosen name, which is Vincent. But they said they would like to be more, accepting, and I think the use of accepting rather than tolerant said a whole lot on their part. But Brittany had to confront some of her own ideas about transgender people. So we had to, she had to do some reflection and confronting some of her biases and whatnot. And she, through watching some educational videos and also, speaking with me and doing some online professional development, Brittany worked through some of those, and I felt like she was able to have that unconditional positive regard toward the student. And so we, through working with supervision and whatnot, we got her to a place where she was able to help Vincent, in particular, to navigate some of the family dynamics. Now, unfortunately, Vincent experienced quite a bit of self-harm and also symptoms of depression and anxiety. And so Brittany, working with the parents, she provided them with a list of resources that are available in Fayette County. The parents did make use of some of those, but they also got Vincent a therapist also. And so that worked out. That worked out for Vincent. And he also spent some time in an in-treatment facility. He did transition back to J.C. Booth, and of course there was a plan for that in place. Another example we had was a student who met with Brittany and a few times, and then several months later, the student's father called and requested the meeting notes. And so Brittany consulted with me, and I said, you know what? This is a kind of gray area. Let's call Director of Student Services. So we were advised only to share the meeting dates with the father and not, the meeting notes, because the student had not disclosed anything during those meetings that we would need to report to the parents. One of the current issues in counseling and supervision is how to balance a heavy workload with supervision. So I've mentioned Brittany is our 7th grade school counselor. What I have not yet mentioned is that she is a halftime counselor. She's with us Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock until 12:15. So, and yes, you are correct. She has all the tasks and responsibilities of a full-time counselor. So the challenge is, how does one prioritize? How does one condense into a half day what typically would be done over the course of a full day? Now, we have our weekly supervision meetings Friday at 10 o'clock, but we also, each morning before school begins, we have about a 3 to 5 minute stand-up meeting. So the takeaway on that is supervision is, of course, ongoing and does not have to be restricted or limited to that weekly agenda-driven meeting. So it's just we're forever learning, and for that supervisee, her supervision is ongoing in an informal way as well as formal. Brittany and I share our Google Calendars, and we also have a Google Doc where we can both list upcoming events, upcoming activities, projects we're working on, etc., and we can see who needs help with what, and she'll help me with mine and vice versa. So there's that whole alliance building that goes on with that. One way that, and during this program, I've learned about the importance of self-care for counselors. So one thing that I promised Brittany I would do is to safeguard her or protect her lunchtime, her lunch break. So in an effort to make that happen, I will see her 7th grade students while she's on her lunch break, or sometimes the 6th grade counselor will help me out with that. So that's all, reinforcing the idea of collaboration and trust and helping. Another current issue is improving open and transparent communication. So, excuse me, I have learned so much about the major models of supervision during this program. And again, my chosen model is CBT. The power dynamic early on with Brittany, she saw me as the expert and wanted to, and came to me about everything, which I expected. I recall my, first year as a counselor, I was terrified of making a mistake. So I wanted at the time it was called my mentor to hear everything and approve it and affirm it, offer guidance and whatnot. So after about a month, we had developed that trust in our relationship, and the communication became much more open from Brittany. She became more confident in letting me know she needed help and asking for help, and saying she, didn't know something, but she wanted to learn about it. And, she had to come to understand that it is in fact necessary sometimes and appropriate to say, I don't know, but we can find out. And I have modeled that for her a few times, or several times actually. And there are times I'll go next door to Brittany's office and say, hey, I need a consultation about something. That's in an effort to let her know that, yes, we are all still learning. I will have things that I want to, hear from her perspective. She's much younger and brand new and has fresh ideas. So just to let her know that we can help each other, and we have worked to the point of being able to have that transparent communication. During the course of this program, I've had the opportunity to research and study and write about many topics of interest, and I would like to speak to two of them for this question, that is technology use and the ASCA ethical standards. So our school system uses SCUDA, and that's the school counselor's use of time analysis. So what we do with that is we'll enter everything that we do in a day, and it's easy to use. It has drop-down menus, and we upload all the student names. So we just, instead of typing the name, we can search it and then click it, and then it swoops it over to the event as appropriate. We can also use it for planning, but most of us use it for, okay, this just happened. Let me get it on there. It's similar to, entering in the contact log in Infinite Campus. We can run reports at will to show how we're spending our time. Are we adhering to the 80-20 rule from the ASCA National Model? And it is an excellent data source for taking to the school leadership team, our advisory board, administrators, letting our stakeholders know what we're doing, that how we spend our time, the tasks we're performing for students. So that's a great tool for advocacy for the program. Then the ASCA ethical standards that we studied, took a deep dive into those. I want to talk about just a few of them. 8.6 is referring to outside agencies. So we know that school counselors are not therapists. We don't need to pretend that we are. So when appropriate, we do refer to the outside agencies. We have 8.7 involves group work. We have several groups at J.C. Booth. We have grief group, girls group, bridge builders, planning for success, and then the one I facilitate is the Young Warriors. And so 10 boys over 10 weeks, and we identify and express emotions, anger management, confidence, stress management, diversity and inclusion, responsibility, ethical behaviors, healthy relationships, and cooperation and teamwork. Next year, I would like to start a group for executive functioning. That's part of our needs assessment. Of course, we hear about that in general, about all middle school students need help with that. Then we have our peer tutoring program, which falls under A.8. We work with our Beta Club members and train them to become tutors, and we typically rely on teacher referral or parent referral for the students that receive the tutoring. For 8.11 is bullying, harassment, and child abuse. So we know with Title IX we are required to report incidents of bullying and sexual harassment to our school administration. We have see something, say something posters with QR codes. Students can scan those QR codes that make anonymous reports to our administrators about bullying and sexual harassment and other issues as they see them. J.C. Booth Middle School has a diverse student population representing approximately 60 countries. And as such, we have to be a culturally competent counselor, we need to understand the different facets that make up who we are. We know that cultures have different norms for communicating, the roles of family members, the responsibilities of the family members, what are the expectations, how do spiritual beliefs affect emotional expression, priorities of what are the students' priorities, making great grades, participating in extracurricular activities, what are the priorities. We have a language line that we are able to use. It's available to schools where, we need more than just Spanish to English interpreters. We need many interpreters as we try to help families and students. So that is something we make use of. Our 8th grade art students created an art installation for Chinese New Year, and many students have taken selfies in front of that. It's on a large wall from top to bottom and side to side. It's at the front of the 800 hall, which is the 8th grade hall. The 7th graders had an African market earlier in the year, so they learned about that in their world geography class. We have in our orchestra and band play music from different regions, different countries. So we do celebrate the diverse cultures at J.C. Booth Middle School. I want to acknowledge the professors I have had in this program. You have all been wonderful. I have appreciated each of you. You've provided great commentary and counsel through the program. And of course, the success of the program is due in large part to what you are able to provide to the students and the knowledge you bring to it. So I am forever thankful for all that you have done for me.